Shifting focus to EU plenary, where Malta's Roberta Metsola has secured a broad backing for a new term as President of the European Parliament on Tuesday. Metsola, who took the post in 2022, is the only the second president after Germany's Martin Schulz to win another term since the EU Parliament became a directly elected institution in 1979. In continuing a largely ceremonial role, Metsola will preside over a 720-member parliament. Addressing the EU Assembly, Metsola said that the parliament should continue to be a strong supporter of Ukraine and seek the power to propose EU legislation. Meanwhile, a group of 63 European Parliament lawmakers have asked EU to withdraw Hungary's voting rights in the bloc in response to Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban's recent visits to Moscow and Beijing. Orban met Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin and Xi Jinping on a self-styled peace mission to end the conflict in Ukraine. The lawmakers said that Orban had deliberately implied he was acting on behalf of the entire EU, despite not having the authority to do this, though lawmakers have no formal ability to strip Hungary of its voting rights other than putting political pressure on Brussels. Hungary took over the rotating EU presidency this month. Meanwhile, in a letter to EU leaders, Orban said US Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump is ready to act immediately as a peace broker in the Russia-Ukraine war if he is elected in November. Orban has long criticized European military support for Ukraine in contrast to most allies who support Kyiv's war effort. Alex Kadir joins us live from Brussels for the latest. While after EU elections, hi Alex, all eyes were on the EU plenary where Roberta Metsola seems to be the top favourite. It's almost a done deal for her, but what does it mean for the grouping?
Yeah, well, it is a done deal for her, but she will be presiding over a very different parliament. Indeed, more than a quarter of the MEPs in this particular European Parliament since those elections back in June, more than a quarter of those MEPs are from either far-right or hard-right parties. An important distinction because the ability to govern or the ability to block legislation in the European Parliament is primarily down to parties being able to work together. Of course, they are elected from 27 different member states. And at the moment, that quarter of the European Parliament, which is either hard-right or far-right, does not have a united front. What does have a united front is the centre-left, centre-right, centrist parties like Ursula von der Leyen and Roberta Metzola's European People's Party, the left, the Greens. They can work together under what Ursula von der Leyen has described as being pro-Europe, pro-Ukraine, pro-rule of law. They have that governing majority, but nevertheless, those far-right parties from Viktor Orban in Hungary to Marine Le Pen in France or Giorgia Meloni even in Italy, those three parties in the European Parliament will be a thorn in the European Commission and the European Council's side. It will be a more divided, more fractious, more confrontational Parliament than we've seen of late, and it's certainly going to be interesting to watch how that develops in the coming weeks.
Absolutely. And what is the kind of uncertainty that looms large on the vote on whether or not to elect Ursula von der Leyen as the President of the Commission for the second term? Is it going to be, or is it rather a tough time for her?
Well, we heard from senior officials in her political party, the European People's Party, and they say she's got the numbers.
Okay.
Nevertheless, Ursula von der Leyen has been spending the last couple of days speaking to MEPs from the left, from the Greens, from all over the political spectrum to garner as much support as possible because Roberta Metsola was able to sail through virtually unopposed, but for Ursula von der Leyen it will be more challenging. She will hold much more power. She will be in the European Commission, that building behind me, which drives the legislation in the European Union, drives the legislative process and holds a lot of power. And there is opposition to Ursula von der Leyen in this European Parliament. Make no mistake, it seems as though there's not enough opposition to stop her becoming president once again.
Okay, that's interesting. Alex, thank you so much for joining us live from Brussels. Thank you.